Victorious is one of those interesting cases of a show that was pretty popular and well loved, but never received a proper finale before getting the plug pulled on the end of its 4-season run. Rumors and speculations aside, the show had a very loyal fan base, and they were scouring the internet for any bit of info if the show would get a real finale to tie off some of the loose ends that it left. While both this and iCarly ending not so long before it, Sam from iCarly and Kat from Victorious were paired up in their own combined spin-off of those shows. And while that show followed suit with having its own fair share of problems, causing it to end after 1 year, it only caused fans of Victorious to want more closure for the crew at Hollywood Arts. Victorious pulled off something pretty interesting within its run. It ran the risk of being too similar to iCarly. Both of them are in the same universe and have had these characters intermingle between episodes of each show and a full crossover special, which we covered the other week here on the channel, but Victorious needed to be something else entirely. It took a similar approach of being on top of the rapidly growing online social media space and also leaned in heavily to the celebrity wannabe grind. So how did Victorious meld these different tropes together in a way as to not recreate iCarly, but to reinvent what a show like this could be? And before we jump into this, I just want to say thank you so much for the amazing support you've shown this channel in the videos, and I am beyond thankful. All I ask is that you drop a like on the video and that you enjoy. Okay, so how did Victorious build something so new and fresh while still feeling familiar and welcoming? I think from the initial episode of the show, it hooks and invests you into the world of Hollywood Arts. In the pilot episode of the show, we are introduced to two sisters, Tori and Trina. Tori is a regular girl who's going to a regular school whose sister Trina is currently going to Hollywood Arts, a school for those gifted in the arts, acting, singing, directing, dancing, etc., invested in furthering their passions and hopefully transforming them into careers. We see at the start that Tori is helping aid her sister and her schoolmate Andre, who obviously becomes a prominent member of the main cast in Tori's friend group, prepare for a music showcase at the school. Here we quickly find out though that Trina, well, she can't sing at all. At the actual showcase, we find Trina with an inflamed tongue who can no longer perform, so since Tori was the only other person who knows her performance, since again, she helped her, Andre volunteers and literally drags her into filling in for Trina. Tori is kind of forced to break out of her shyness and perform the now iconic theme song on stage, and swiftly feels more and more comfortable performing in front of the crowd. It's here when after the performance she is offered an enrollment into Hollywood Arts, and now through the eyes of Tori, we follow your average normal girl into the world of the weird and different. So from that point, we are introduced to a school-like fantasy similar to Zoe 101, except here, instead of just being an awesome place to live that has Jet X's,
it's a Jet X! You get that?
we have a school that is specializing in the entertainment talent, essentially a trade school for these teenagers who want to become musicians, actors, directors, dancers, etc. If any of these forms of stardom captured your interest as well, you were probably sold on how cool this place was. But this concept, while cool, could easily fall stale if all we would see is actors learning to act and singers learning to sing. Other shows have taken us through way too similar stories to that. So to combat falling down that well, the writers took aim at poking fun on how outlandish and the idolization of the Hollywood lifestyle can be. Most of the characters you'd meet in the show, whether they're teachers or students, had overdone quirks and stereotypes. There would be a few more normal people that you would meet that would fall into the relatable category, and not to say that you couldn't relate to the other exaggerated characters, you totally could, but I'm talking about the characters that allowed the majority of people to attach themselves to, like Tori or like Andre, who I feel fit this description the best. They are both surrounded by the ridiculousness of it all, but at the end of the day are our vessels into a person who isn't what the Hollywood arts mold shapes. They don't just play into one role, they go through more character development and growth, in my opinion, more than any other characters in the show. But throughout the series, we see the show evolve more and more into a parody of social media tropes and starlight exaggeration. From the pointless posting on social media we see during scene transitions to a school filled with nothing but the arts, something that most schools unfortunately have to cut cut down to a small percentage due to budget cuts. And I don't just mean parodied in the sense of episodes like The Breakfast Bunch, where the whole premise is to kind of riff on The Breakfast Club. And while this does still fit the mold of what I'm saying, the parody wasn't just in the parodies itself. The whole show constantly made fun of the tropes usually glamorized. It took the serious edge off the show, allowing you as the audience to be in on the jokes and experience what seems like a fantasy to most and tear down those illusions surrounding it. Something I've been thinking about recently, thanks to the iCarly revival show, which we discussed last week here on the channel, is that it could be possible to see something similar happen to Victorious. Since the announcement of iCarly coming back, there have been rumblings between cast members of Victorious regarding said possibilities.
Yes! Oh, yes! Yeah!
Victoria Justice herself, when asked about it, said while no official discussions have taken place and nothing is officially in the works, the cast are all still friendly to this day and would in most cases love to continue their characters in a more adult setting like iCarly is doing. Where are these people now in their lives? Where did their professions take them? Victoria would love to explore where Tori goes and see her as a possible songwriter or maybe even still a singer herself. Well, we all know what happened to Kat, aside from Sam and Kat, but obviously Ariana Grande is one of, if not the biggest singer on the planet. But as far as the rest, there is a nice entry point to follow these characters once again in the actual job fields they went into in entertainment. I do know Elizabeth Giles, who played Jade, is very much on the fence about doing something like this unless it was done correctly. So it's not all high and mighty, yes, gung-ho, let's go for this reboot. It has to be done correct and give respect to the characters here. And again, Victoria Justice wants to be clear that you shouldn't get your hopes up. At least not yet. We have to see first how the iCarly revival is widely received, and who knows, maybe soon down the road this could be a possibility, especially as nostalgia for the show builds and builds. And even if everyone didn't return to the show, it could still work. Just as how iCarly has handled it so far, for better or for worse, there are ways to go around that. Victorious was a special show. It followed the iCarly method by not only embracing the cultural zeitgeist of the times, but finding ways to poke fun at the ridiculousness of striving for fame and how that could affect the youth. While iCarly would show one side of grinding and working for something and handling the obstacles that come in the way, Victorious took a look at the growth of social media and mixed it in with the stereotypes of Hollywood talent, creating one of the most satirically based bit of teen programming out there, while still giving the character a chance to shine. While it may not have been given a proper ending to send off these characters we spent 4 seasons with, the impact that the show left on many was well worth the journey. Even while it heavily made fun of the social media space, it never was laughing at those who were a part of it, but rather laughing with those a part of it. It still gave those creatives seeking something they're working on for validation to chase your dreams, but to not take yourself too seriously. Have some fun along the way, and most importantly, ground yourself in the moments along your path. Because when you're looking back down from the top, it's never the end that you're looking for. It's the journey that you'll always cherish the most. Well, friends, let me know in the comments how you felt about this show. Did it leave an impact on you, or was it just kind of something you watched passively? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, as it truly helps out the video and I truly appreciate it. Subscribe to be a part of my journey through movies and television and how these films and shows affected my life from the past to the present. And as always, I will see you soon with another video, but until next time, later.